I always kind of feel like if I know that there's something that's a little bit scary for me, but yet it's exciting and new, I know that I'm on the right track.
This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good afternoon, Gary Benson. Previously, episode 109 of the 12-Minute Convos podcast. Then we reconnected face to face in LA to have a conversation. We first spoke 2 years, 8 months, 20 days, and 13 hours ago.
Just know that you're enough, just being who you are and what you have to work with, and just, love yourself and everything falls into place.
That was then. This is now. My friend, how are you doing?
I'm really good, thank you. This is the third time, isn't it?
It is. It's like a special third time. Like I had Amar Vias from India on the third time as well, but that's the podcast. Your third is I've spoken to you one time virtually, and then I met you face to face the second time, and now we're on the third time for the podcast.
Absolutely. I love it.
Well, my friend, I can say that you looked better than you sounded.
well, thank you.
And you sounded really well, so you can imagine how good this guy looks, folks. When we last spoke, there were a few things going on in your life, specifically for the podcast. Now, what I did see here, which was really, really cool, is you had to reschedule this conversation. And the reason you gave me was just booked an acting job. Jay Shetty video. Wow!
Yeah, well, thank you. I've been very lucky. I've done, I've done 4 with Jay Shetty, and 2 of them are out and about now, and then there's one I think this should be coming out this week. And then I don't know exactly their schedule, but he creates a lot of content, and it's been a lot of fun.
That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so let's tell the amazing audience, for those who don't know Gary Benson, what's going on, please?
Well, gosh, just the usual. I'm marketing my latest book that came out in November called Habits for Success. I'm going to a lot of auditions and getting some acting jobs. I'm coaching some folks. I've got some great clients. I love to create positive content in all kinds of different ways, whether it's a book or a short film or a TEDx or a video, you name it. And so things are going well.
Now, we have had initially from the beginning Finding Your Voice, and then you went into the children's books with Steve the Alien.
Yeah.
I have a physical copy of that. My children love it, as well as Lucy and Chester, which is like that geography conversation, right?
Yes.
Just to put those books in there, because they're really fascinating stuff, like the way your mind goes. It's really good to see it on paper.
Thank you. I just kind of follow my intuition and go with the flow, and it's been fun to express myself in a lot of different ways, which all in turn, they're all, have positive messages or can help people, whether it's a self-help book or a kid's book or, a message in a video. Yeah, I'm having fun and just excited about kind of how things are headed.
You said you were born to inspire people. Do you still feel that way, Gary?
Yeah, I a long time ago, I think I told you while we were chatting, is that when I was 3, I told my mom I was put here to inspire people, and it's kind of coming to fruition. After I left my family business 10 years ago, and all this stuff started happening that I really had no idea would. And so looking back, it's kind of fun to see how one thing led to another, but ultimately how I have kind of gone on that track.
I have a question for you. Well, I mean, I have many questions. It's not like I'm going to stop after that, right? But it was intriguing. Like, did you feel the effects of speaking with me after going through all of those states and then meeting you? Did it feel like, wow, this guy's been through a lot?
Well, yeah, it did. I mean, your trip is very, I think it's just amazing, number one, that you're able to just show up and to chat with so many people and just kind of, be there and open your heart up and really connect with others. And so I know that you were almost done with the trip when I saw you, correct?
Correct, yeah.
And so I know that, it must have been an incredible experience, but I know that you mentioned that it was also tough because you're away from your kids and
Yes.
and then your wife had to put up with you the whole time. And no, but that was quite an ambitious undertaking, and you masterfully pull it off.
I appreciate that. Walking into fears,
Yes.
definitely a theme of our conversation. Walking into fears. Have you gotten better at it?
Yes, I've gotten better at it. I think the more that we do it, the easier it gets. However, that doesn't mean that whenever I step out of my comfort zone or do something that's still a little bit scary for me, doesn't mean it's easy. I just trust that I'll be able to manage it and handle it.
I think it's one of the things, if I could choose a superpower, my superpower would be to not have that feeling when walking into fears.
Yeah, I
Because,
agree.
oh my. But it has grown to be the measurement of understanding what to do. For me, is it the same for you?
Well, I just get an idea about something and it's like intuitively, I just feel like it's all systems go. It's hard to explain, even though it's scary. I always kind of feel like if I know that there's something that's a little bit scary for me, but yet it's exciting and new, I know that I'm on the right track. And so I just kind of keep trying to head in that direction. Although sometimes, I get tripped up like anybody else, and I'll go through a momentary lapse of, being a little bit afraid and maybe not willing to take that step out of my comfort zone for a short period of time. And usually that it revolves around acting or auditions and stuff like that, because you're getting told no constantly. You know what I mean? The average of, I don't know, whatever someone books a job is like 1 out of 75 times they say it. And so it beats you up. And if you're not feeling really in tune with yourself and, and loving and accepting yourself and feeling, staying on top of those things that I need to do personally to stay in balance, like, movement and food and exercise, there'll be moments when I don't really feel as confident, but yet eventually I'll head back on that direction, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Can people connect with you at 12listen.com still? Are you still there?
I'm not on 12listen.com anymore, but
Okay.
my website, G. Brian Benson, just the letter G, Brian Benson. .com, and they can contact me through there or in social media. Everything, is pretty much G. Brian Benson as well.
How has what you've been doing affected your son?
Interesting. He's very independent, kind of like me. We're similar in a lot of ways, but our interests are completely different. He's very creative. He's a fantastic photographer, videographer, and editor up in northern Nevada. And so,
is he as intuitive?
A little bit, I think. I don't really try to tell him what to do because that has never worked out. He's one of those that kind of needs to make the mistake on his own,
Right.
even though he knows he's heading into it. But I just try to lead by example and be a good person, and I think that makes its way into his realm, if that makes sense. Even though we don't necessarily talk about that. I mean, we get along really well, but yet I just kind of let him be his own man.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's important, isn't it? I mean, one of the things you did was you became your own man, right? Walking away from the family business.
Yes.
It was like your life passion. So I can see the offspring needing to have a bit more space, right?
Absolutely. And he's very he's even more independent than I am and was at that time as well. So yep.
When you look back from now to then, do you have any regrets to see the decisions you've made despite the ups and downs? Do you have regret?
No, I think about that every once in a while, and I don't, because it's made me who I am, and I like where I'm at, and I like who I've become, and it's a lot of work, just the self-growth process, but I like who I am and where I've come from, and I think it helps me be a better, hopefully, example for others because I've experienced a lot of ups and downs as well. The only thing I regret are a couple of guitars I got rid of. Seriously.
Are we talking like electric guitars or?
No, I had an amazing old Dobro resonator guitar. I love to play the old blues with slide and pick, and I should not have gotten rid of that, but I did during one of my moves, and so I regret that.
It's the sacrifice. It goes with the territory. Well, my friend, I want to interject here and say thank you. Thank you for everything you've been doing. It's been inspirational and motivational to see that you've stuck through, right? And I've seen you. This is not something that's just virtual or an illusion. You are real, and what you are doing is real. So I want to say thanks because for me, it is now the foundation of my life, the foundation of the podcast. So thank you, G.B. Benson. Before we leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
No, just thank you. And, we're all here working and growing and learning together,
I totally agree. Again, folks, this guy, he says, you are enough.
Yep.
Gary Brian Benson. Thank you again, my friend, for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. This podcast is produced by Pod Edits. Visit podedits.com for professional podcast publishing.